What is good? We're back. We've got some more Dynasty must stashes for your pleasure. So these are going to be some later round guys that you should either draft late, pick them up and stash them, or they should be players that you eyeball as throw-ins on trades, right? So this isn't just like a stash these off the waiver wire, but later round guys that we like, and some when you're going to make those trades, always try to grab one little extra little thing on the parting gift out the door that nobody really has any value on. And some of these guys will be those ticketed items where people are like, I don't care, that guy's left for dead. But, we still like some value on him. So we'll kick it off with one who made the list. He's a little higher than what we wanted to talk about, but I think a lot of people have him left for dead right now. And he was a very high player last year, which, hey, we weren't super favorable on him. I didn't like the ADP, but now it's getting to the point where it's nice and cheap. We're going to go Rachaad White here. He's coming in the 14th round. He's going to be the only guy in the 14th. The rest of the guy will be in 16th or later. But yeah, just seemed like a good jumping off point of, how quickly things can turn around, right? And drop you from the 6th round to the 14th. And now the price point's good. And the main reason I still like White is because, look, he was never my favorite runner, but he is an excellent receiving back, right? And
yes, he is.
Is Bucky going to come in and just gobble up every bit of every possession? No, I think White's still going to have a role in the field, still going to get plenty of carries, maybe plenty's a stretch, but a decent amount of carries. And when you look at Rachaad White's game log last year, week 12 on 11 points, 8 points, 24 points, 14 points, 11 points. Bucky was scoring points then too.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, putting this list together. We've been talking about these guys forever, obviously, but we've tried to put this list together for the show, and it's like the correction has just been an overcorrection for Rachaad White, and it's the Bucky effect is real. I'm not trying to take a thing away from him, but you just called it out. Like in that stretch of games you called out, one of the things that you can say as a pro for Bucky Irving is that his snap percentage was only 50%. Well, in all these games on this game log right here for Rachaad White for last year, like his snap percentage is a little bit higher than Bucky's in all those games. Yes, Bucky was more efficient running the ball. You can't touch him up the middle, but Rachaad White, when he gets those screen passes, when he gets those checkdowns, he looks like a completely different player. He's and we've already had bell cow usage out of him 1 year. The year before last, he was the RB4. So says this settings league in Sleeper, which isn't anything crazy. I know Travis Etienne's RB4 gets thrown around, so maybe whatever the little kinks in the scoring system
Travis
is there.
RB3. Don't disrespect the Etienne.
Yeah, my bad. I didn't mean to push him back by pushing down the list by 33%. But Rachaad White's name is just it's not as valuable as it was last year, like you said. In late 5th round, early 6th last year, we were completely out. But now in the 14th round, like he's just a must-have. He's flex worthy. I don't know if I just say straight up. He's probably YOLO RB2 worthy. If you got down bad, if you had Dave Montgomery in your RB2 spot week 1 and he got hurt, and not to put Juju on Montgomery, but you know what I mean.
Right.
You could do worse than having Rachaad White as your RB2 in week 3 or 4 this season if you were already in no man's land and you were in bad luck. Right.
Yeah.
But especially 2nd, 3rd, 4th flex, Rachaad White is worthy. And then of course, obviously if something happens to Bucky, the points are there. So it's at 14th round. He's like, you got to have him, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just, I know Bucky is going to take most of the reins of this offense and be the focal point, as he should be. He was great and very efficient. And so if we can just up the percentage just a little bit, but I don't think the Bucks are going to be wanting to do anything crazy and be like, all right, all of a sudden Bucky's just getting 80% of everything. Like, I think they're still going to try to balance this out. The Bucks want to win the South and go to the playoffs. Bucky needs to be a part of that. So I think, you can look at the snap percentages here, and a lot are right around 50%. In the beginning of the season, it was more like 70. By the end, it's down to in the 50s, 49, 53, 50, right? So I think that's probably a little bit more what you're seeing. I know the last couple of games, Bucky really got some run there with maybe a Carolina or something along those lines. But I still think there's going to be plenty of snap share where Rachaad White, even though we don't love his efficiency, he's still going to get balls put in his gut, and he's an excellent receiver. So I love the value on Rachaad White right now.
No, that's a nice little sneaky piece of narrative that you put in there. Like the Bucks 2 years in a row. Don't forget 2 years ago they embarrassed the Eagles in the playoffs, and then this past year go to so 2 years in a row they're in the playoffs. And don't get me wrong, everybody wants to win week 1. and everybody loves to start 2-0. So I'm sure they'll ride Bucky just fine. But they are more than just, hey, let's go out and see what we can do. Right? It's not a Baker revenge tour anymore. He's legit, and the Bucks offense is that they are playing for the playoffs. And in the NFC South, they got just as good a chance to make the playoffs as any team.
Right. All right. Next running back on the list here. We're gonna run through the running backs first. I got Marshon Lloyd at 1607. He's been a big click for me in best balls. He's been a big auto draft for me once we get into the 16th ish rounds in Dynasty. Look, didn't play really at all last year. You saw a little bit in preseason, but he had a hip injury in camp, hamstring injury in the preseason, ankle week 2, appendectomy, hamstring. Right, just a terrible string of bad luck for Marshon Lloyd. Obviously, Josh Jacobs was outstanding last year.
Yeah.
And I love Josh Jacobs. I think Josh Jacobs is going to be outstanding again. I think this offense is going to be better. Jordan Love hopefully won't have injuries that mar his entire season and hold him down a little bit. I think their passing percentage will be up. They were down near the bottom of the league in that, and they rode Jacobs into the ground. But that's not really been LaFleur's MO the entire time he's been a head coach. And, you know, if you've watched this for a while, I've gone through this already. But if you go back to 2021, LaFleur, AJ Dillon, and Aaron Jones.
Yeah, sorry.
You can look at the splits here, and it's 183 to 194 in the attempts, right? You look at 22, it's 213 for Aaron Jones, 186 for Dillon. 2023, 181 to 178, right? And there's other numbers that go along with that, but that doesn't matter. That's not the point of what I'm saying. Like, you can see that the distribution is fairly even, right? It's not skewed one way or the other. I think Jacobs is still going to have, you know, a large percentage of what goes on in this offense, but I think Marshon Lloyd is going to get a chance. And if Marshon Lloyd could be healthy and be right and just look like a productive back that they drafted him to be, because they have some decent capital wrapped up in Lloyd, I think this is what they were kind of counting on a little bit. And, you know, Emmanuel Wilson was fine last year, but that's really the only competition for Lloyd. So I think they're going to come right back in here. And I think you're going to see Jacobs fall well. He was like 318 carries or something last year. Like, I think that number drops back down to 280, 260. And even that would still be a big number for a LaFleur offense. But I think they're going to have a lot of confidence in Jacobs. There's going to be different situations where, hey, we're riding this out. Let's see what Jacobs can do. If Marshon's hot, we'll put Jacobs back on the bench. And because we're winning, right? So there's times where we're going to get Jacobs rest. It's going to skew some of the attempt totals here and there, because I think the Packers will probably win some games and be able to coast in spots. But there's also going to be times where, hey, we're down. It's the nitty gritty, and Jacobs is going to be in there doing his thing, and they're going to ride Jacobs, right? Jacobs is a great goal line, red zone type of player as well. So I think, I'm not saying I'm worried about Jacobs by any means, but as far as a late round stash, I think Marshon Lloyd's got as much upside as any stash. And God forbid anything happened to Jacobs, you know, I think at the 16th round price point that you can get this second year running back that we saw nothing out. He's like the cheapest of most of the second round year running backs that we saw last year. I love it. And I think he's going to have some potential standalone value here. And, you know, Jacobs isn't super young and has got a lot of carries. So
how would you like it if we paid your 2025 league entry fee? All you have to do is submit proof of a 5-star review from Spotify and or iTunes, click the link, and fill out the entry form. Multiple entries allowed. Commandeer your friend's phone to quadruple your chances to win. Every losing entry rolls over to the next month's contest, all for your pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with most of that for sure. I think one of the reasons that I think Jacob got as many carries as he did was Jordan Love's injuries. You know, so if Jordan Love, you know, week 1, boom, last play of the game, he's hurt and hobbled up, and then of course, you know, you get a couple he misses a couple games here and there and gets hurt again later on in the season. So I think, you know, as far as the career of LaFleur as a coach and all those numbers, I think they do mean something. I don't, you know, a lot of people make the argument Aaron Jones versus, you know, Josh Jacobs. He never had a Josh Jacobs. He never had the true 215, 220 pound bell cow that you put it on his back or, you know, give it to him even though the defense knows he's going to get it right. So, I mean, I'm not sure with the elevation of the offense and, you know, where they are headed. I'm not sure if I think Marshon Lloyd would have to look really, really good to have some standalone value anytime soon. But I certainly think his value could be ridiculous if Josh Jacobs were to get hurt. I think Josh Jacobs, not that he had anything to prove to us or mostly the NFL, but I think he proved everything he needed to prove to the Packers last year. Is like, hey, I'm part of the winning formula. Give me the rock.
Well,
and
also
it'd be interesting.
Let's not pretend that LaFleur did not give the ball to Derrick Henry, right? He's always divided a backfield.
Sure,
there's so much data to support this, and so much longevity of what
is a long
LaFleur,
season, and it's not getting any shorter. They want to add more games.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, again, the Packers want to be good. We don't want to we don't want 330 carries or 320 carries on our back. Like, I'm just reading some tea leaves of what LaFleur has pretty much done his entire career. And there has been times where he has had a bell cow. He also had big old AJ Dillon there. So like, if he wanted to ride somebody, he could have rode some, like, you know what I mean? It's just, I'm going.
The ghost of AJ Dillon's about to start taking strays. All right. Yeah. Fair enough. I believe you. Dude, he's free. That's the whole point of this. The only thing that makes him not free is the opportunity cost of the ADP of the guys that we're talking about. You almost kind of have to pick your spots, and you're like, all right, if I'm doing three startups this year, am I going to get Marshon Lloyd in this draft in the 17th round? Am I going to get Roshan Johnson in this draft in the 17th round, et cetera, or maybe you position yourself and you get 2 or 3 picks in that range where you can gobble them up.
Right. All right. Let's fire off a couple more running backs here and we'll keep it moving. Who's another late round stash for you here, Big Co?
Well, when you started the episode, you said this is like grab guys in trades, make them where, you can add them on and they don't really affect the value of the trade too much. The funny thing is like we got a Jarquez Hunter and we got a Roshan Johnson. They're like 5 spots apart in ADP, right? Mm-hmm. Well, this day and age that we live in right now, of course, Roshan Johnson goes out and has a one-hand catch in training camp down to, around the corner. So he's got a highlight now. So he's got slow motion highlights. So it's coming. But like before that Roshan Johnson clip starts going around on Twitter, 2 days ago, like Jarquez Hunter versus Roshan Johnson, they're 5 spots in ADP, but like they're light years apart in, value bait. Like rookie draft is going on right now. Mm-hmm. Jarquez Hunter, you know what I mean? Is like Jarquez Hunter is like somebody wants right now. Roshan Johnson is, you could just call him retired, but like but they show up down here, couple picks apart. Like, so Jarquez Hunter is just, another chosen late round running back for the Rams that said, who knows where Blake Corum's status is. I think we all assume at this point, Kyron's going to get a whole lot of run. There's some Kyron haters out there. I think, this is the season and the new, and certainly this year, kind of started last year, but definitely this year is like explosives. Explosives is a new word for all the coaches and all the offensive coordinators and all the beat writers, and we got to find explosives, and that's how it works. And especially from the running game with the 2 high shells that pretty much every defense is running now. So I get it. So like Jarquez Hunter is supposed to be that person, that running back to the Rams that could bring that spark, and he's right there versus Roshan Johnson. So Roshan Johnson is a guy who in Ben Johnson we trust, right? Like, is how much elevation does he have the Jamal Williams season in him? He's not David Montgomery. That's for sure. Like, David Montgomery is underappreciated. David Montgomery is just a really, I don't want to say stud, but he's a beastly running back, right? So if Roshan Johnson could carry the sneakers of David Montgomery in that role, right, it could be very valuable. It's like this is like starting lineup material fodder down here in the 17th round. Like, if it hits, Roshan Johnson can be in your lineup every week. If it doesn't, he just stays on your bench. Right. It's the risk reward is really, really nice right here. Jarquez Hunter probably stays on your bench no matter what for a while, because it's Kyron's backfield until further notice, until McVay says it's not his backfield. Right. Roshan Johnson, we just obviously, DeAndre Swift is a league-winning potential pick in the 10th round. He may be in the 9th round of ADP now, but, all summer long he was 10, 11, and Roshan, DeAndre Swift is a great, home run dab, home run cut. But like Roschon Johnson in the 17th round, he's almost the same home run cut for half the price.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't have the passing. It doesn't have the pass catching upside that DeAndre Swift showed us. DeAndre Swift has showed us time and time again that he's a playmaker. The only reason that we have these doubts is because he's been shunned out of Ben Johnson's team before. Outside of that, we would be slobbering all over ourselves for DeAndre Swift right now.
Sure.
So
I'm pretty in on DeAndre Swift for this year for sure.
I mean, you should be, especially for the cost, right? I mean, even like 10th round in a dynasty startup, a 10th round DeAndre Swift, if that doesn't work out the way you want it, you can overcome that. And the biggest thing is with or without DeAndre Swift, you should be trying to get Roschon Johnson on your team, because if it doesn't work, that's fine. 17th round, what happened? Nothing.
Right.
Hey, bench him. But if it does pop, good. And if you did spend a 10th round pick on DeAndre Swift, I would certainly want to have Roschon Johnson on my team, just in case I got it wrong. A couple years ago, I took Brock Purdy. I took Trey Lance first, and Brock 2 years ago, I took Trey Lance first and Brock Purdy second, because that was after Brock Purdy's arm fell off, and I didn't know if he was going to be able to play. And the second one I picked was actually the right guy. A different position, but the analogy works.
Right. I'm going to stick in the same vein here. I got Manungai and Roschon Johnson kind of just backslash together here. Manungai's at 1807, Roschon's at 1701. I find myself taking Manungai more just because it's one more round later, and that I don't. Again, Roschon's a little more dead to some people, whereas Manungai's the new cat in town, drafted by said new regime. Sure. So, but I like the idea of both of them. I like the idea of taking Swift and then one or the other, or if not both, I'll take the whole dang backfield, because we know how good this backfield could be.
As cheap as it is, that's absolutely right.
But I know I can at least get two of the three, whether that's Swift or and one of these guys, or Manungai and Roschon. I could, and we've seen this backfield want to sort of act, Ben Johnson backfield, that is, want to sort of act with two players. They've revamped this offensive line for Chicago. TBD if it works, and they're good, but they've put around some good pieces that have had success in other places. So Kyle Manungai comes in, the rookie from Rutgers. He had 256 attempts, so got that kind of bell cow pedigree. That was 9th. He had 1,200 yards. That was 14th in college football last year. 5 yards per attempt, 13 TDs, 862 yards after contact. So that was 12th. Runs of 10 yards or more, he had 33 of those. That was tied for 24th. Runs of 15 yards or more, that was 18th. That was tied for 19th in all of college football. 78 first downs. That was good for 9th. And missed tackles forced 12th, right? So Manungai doesn't have this crazy breakaway speed, but he's got some decent speed kind of in between that 0 to 15, 16 yard range, right? He doesn't have a whole bunch of plays that he broke off, but he's got a lot of physicality to his game. He can make you miss, and they've been praising his pass pro ability. So Ben Johnson and company, a lot of notes out there how much they're loving the physicality and loving the pass pro. What does that kind of bring shades back to? David Montgomery role in this offense. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Roschon? Is it going to be Manungai? I don't know. But I think they're worth shots here in the 18th and 17th round. So I'm just piggybacking a little bit off of what you said there, Big Co.
Yeah, and Roshan got love for his ability to pass pro coming out 2 years ago as well. I think one of the things we'll watch, like you said, the double running back scenario from the Lions. We talked about this, a month or so ago. Getting out from under Dan Campbell and seeing what Ben Johnson, how much, if it was 100% his, or it was Dan Campbell saying, "Hey, I want to run the rock like this. I want to pound it like this, and we're going to run it." You know what I mean? Obviously, Ben Johnson, as he's the wonder child, and he's the new, fresh for the last 2 or 3 years, 2 or 3 seasons, like the best new offensive mind in the business, right? He was everybody wanted him for a head coach the last 2 off seasons, but he did everything that you could ask him to do for my Lions, and elevating Jared Goff and company. It'll be really interesting now just to see how, if he coordinator face or awesome head coach, and brings it over and runs the offense. And there's there's what I mean is, like, there's not one person over him. Like, he's the coach. Right. And you don't even, like, he basically handpicked the Bears And like that, there was in all conversations where I got complete control.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think there's going to be a problem with an offense. It's just whether he can, can you do all of those things at once and run an offense is a tricky situation. So, all right, give me a couple quick more rapid fire late round running backs here so we could keep it moving.
I mean, I think just the bad luck, if you want to talk Jordan James in the middle of the 17th round, coming out of Oregon, Bucky's old teammate, we've seen time and time again, the 49ers, I don't know if it's training staff, man. I don't know what's going on over there. A couple of years ago, they could not keep a running back healthy. They trade for Christian McCaffrey. He's an absolute stud for a couple of years. He's been, obviously the old tendonitis and the Achilles got him last year, but and Garindo's been nicked up in and out all the time. So I think that the love for Garindo and all dude love is net. I don't blame you. I got the Garindo love too. We've all seen the long speed. That we love long speed. Everybody loves long speed. But Jordan James, if by week 3, maybe week 13, hopefully nothing happens in the top two guys or the top two guys. But Jordan James could be a very, very valuable player for your fantasy team this year, week 3. Who knows? But in the 17th round, I want a running back that plays for the Niners that has tape as good as Jordan James, that was drafted by the Niners, right? Handpicked, just throw another one on the pile, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, he kind of gives you a little bit more of that Jordan Mason flair. He's got some physicality and some toughness to him.
Completely different skill set from Garindo. But I was like, if Kyle Shanahan's calling plays and you're the running back, it's going to work. It might look different. It'll look different than it did.
He's picked some of the wrong ones for sure, but he's definitely picked some right ones. So
absolutely. And again, these are all like super cheap.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to rattle off a couple more here. I'm going Isaiah Davis. He's coming in at 20.12. So basically like the last guy we have ADP for, because, well, it does go past that a little bit. But Isaiah Davis on the Jets. Everybody loves Braylon Allen. I like Braylon Allen. I don't mind taking a swing on Braylon Allen. But Isaiah Davis, super cheap here. And really just down the stretch here, he outperformed Allen just about everywhere. Davis didn't really get a carry until week 14. In that time, Davis and Allen had about the same amount of touches. David lapped Allen in rushing production here, 25 attempts, 152 yards, 6.08 a carry, 8 targets, 5 catches, 37 yards. So not a whole lot to do in the receiving category per se. But then you got Allen on the other hand. He's coming in with 25 attempts, 94 yards, and 3.76 yards per carry, 9 targets, 7 receptions, 51 yards, right? So just down the stretch, you saw Braylon Allen be productive beginning of the season, and then for whatever reason, who knows what it is, rookie wall, wear down, yada, yada, yada. Isaiah Davis came in and looked like the better back through the back half of it. Breece Hall is most likely not going to be a Jet next year. They'll probably draft somebody else, but at this point, being so cheap, there's probably an open competition for who's the 2 at this point, and it's a new regime. And again, we were just talking about that Lions run game. Well, the pass game coordinator comes over there. It's a defensive head coach, so they have Fields, who hopefully is all right. So I think it's going to be a pretty run heavy team. So Isaiah Davis for me is an easy button press. And then I got a couple of guys who don't have any ADP here for us that I don't mind selecting. Miles Sanders.
Oh, I love it.
I know it's not sexy. I know it's not fun. He's free right now. And it was wide open there in Dallas.
He's free. He's so free. They'd pay you to take him.
Hey, real quick, if you're not in the free Discord channel, what are you doing? Come mock it up, because the F ain't for fuck it up.
I love that. Keep going.
And then we got just Zach Moss and Taj Brooks. Taj Brooks does have an ADP. He's at 20.9. But just the Bengals backups, we were a big Chase Brown pod. Love Chase Brown. I think, now he's getting some love. That's cool. Zach Moss wasn't terrible last year, by any means. So if A, anything happens to Chase Brown, and B, one of these guys is going to have some sort of a role behind Chase Brown, probably week in, week out anyway. And it may just be Moss, since he's the guy there. Hopefully the neck injury is all cleared up or whatever that was, and he can get to going. But either one of those guys, just an offense. The same thing with Miles Sanders, just an offense. And I'm not comparing Dak to Burrow, but like an offense that can score points and can extend drives. I want the backfield on there, and it's not, it's not completely settled in Dallas, and in Cincy, it's kind of settled, but they're high value backups, right? So those were
the
just
situation is highly, highly valuable. Last one, and we get out of here. I'm gonna go back up to 17-9 Trevor Etienne. Hardly got any love in the pre-draft process, really. But if you look at draft capital, he's just behind a couple of very popular backs in the 4th round. And we got to go back to Dave Canales, running back, right? I understand we got Chuba. Chuba did what he did. He earned it. He got paid. Chuba's a stud. I mean, you were on Chuba early. I jumped on the bandwagon a little bit later. A couple years ago, you're like, Chuba's actually really good. And then last year he blew up when he got his opportunity. They had a free Rico Dowdle. It was not a conversation. We're not going to get a story on why. We're not going to talk about why the Cowboys don't have Dowdle on their team right now. Let's not even do that. But like, I saw a tweet a couple weeks ago. I think it was out of Fantasy Points guys, maybe Ryan Heath, maybe one of those other guys. But like, it was listing like the last couple seasons of running backs that were just studs. And it was like stud. And it just said Dave Canales running back. It was whoever the guy that was healthy at the time that was playing for Canales. And it was Chuba last year. And it was, we just talked about him. What's his name from the Rachaad White. It was Rachaad White the year before, that kind of thing. So they drafted him in the 4th round ahead of all those other guys we talked about for the rookies, all the Jordan Jameses and all those guys. Trevor Etienne comes off the board before those guys. So handpicked by Dave Canales. So I've like at 17-9, almost 18th round pick. He's somebody that I want on some of my teams just in case. He's buried behind Chuba. They tried to either replace Chuba and Rico Dowdle, who proved decent enough. So I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of Trevor Etienne week 1. This isn't like a spike week 1 type play. And like a Roshan Johnson week 1, we could all be surprised. Roshan Johnson could have some carries and some touchdowns week 1. This isn't that. This isn't that at all. This is like, even if you don't end up getting Trevor Etienne, now that week 1, week 2 trade, we're going to be advising you on in the upcoming weeks, how to pounce after week 1 and what to do, in the first couple of weeks is strike in Dynasty and react to our new information. Like Trevor Etienne's going to be a guy we're going to try to tag into those, put him on the back end of those trades, because I don't think you're getting anything out of him. And,
right.
Injuries or whatever, however it plays out, maybe next year, who knows how long it takes. Hopefully a long time, because I want Chuba to stay healthy. I'll say that every time. But 4th round doesn't sound as sexy as it should. We had the good running backs, pushed them down. Everybody, it's going around. People are talking about it. The GMs in the league are talking about it. We knew there was a lot of good backs, so we didn't have to plant our flags too early. We were just like, hey, we're going to get a good one no matter what. So early 4th round, you could call it a late 3rd round if you wanted to, dive into that narrative about what those types of cutoffs and those types of things mean for people's models and all that stuff. I think Trevor Etienne's worth your time near the end of the 17th round.
Yeah. I'm a Rico Dowdle believer. I got no problem picking him. He's a little earlier than that, but longer term play, stash him away, kind of see what's up there. So I don't mind taking the good Levi's with the ETN jeans.
Sure.
So all right, let's keep it moving. Let's go over to quarterbacks, and let's talk about what I'm looking for in a later round quarterback that I'm stashing. Right. I think you and I are pretty in sync with kind of what we're looking for here, and it's basically, it comes down to a few key spots of the coaches and the system that's there that makes those guys more enticing to me than others, right? So that group being here, Mac Jones, Malik Willis, and Sam Howell, right? And then I'll throw Joe Milton into the mix, maybe for a slightly different reason of just uber athleticism, and he's super late. He's going like 18-10, so not quite on the development front with those guys, but just he's one of the later guys that I'm like, oh, that's kind of sexy and fun. So Joe Milton's a nice stash away, and let's not pretend Dak's been super healthy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, true. Well, Joe Milton 1810 goes ahead of Malik Willis, Mac Jones, and Sam Howell. These are
Right.
deep. These are deep stashes. But that's these quarterbacks in Superflex, to call them a deep stash, that's going to take you down farther than the running backs we were just talking about. But we saw Malik Willis come in and make fantasy points last year when Jordan Love got hurt, and like the week 1 game was in South America, right? In the last play of the game, Jordan Love hurts his knee or ankle, something like that, got rolled up on the last play trying to beat the Eagles. And coming back from South America, a little less prep, had 15 points and started week 2. Week 3, he has 27 points, right? I mean, there was a gadget play there to Jaden Reed, and you call it a gadget play. I call it great X's and O's out of LaFleur, which is exactly why he's on this list, right? So if Jordan Love goes down between Malik Willis's legs, which is his number 1 fantasy points production, then in addition to that, we've had a little bit of sample and enough starter reps during the season, because Jordan Love, we know, is not playing, for Malik Willis to be in there working with LaFleur, to be in there working with the ones. And now LaFleur's in the back of his head all off season long being like, if Jordan Love gets hurt, I'm going to try this. If Jordan Love gets hurt, we're going to go with this. And we know that Packers don't want Jordan Love to get hurt. But Malik Willis looked so good in week 3, I bumped into a Packers fan because I saw him as two cars, 2 bumper stickers, and I was just looking jonesing for some NFL talk in my day-to-day. And the guy's like, hey, I want Jordan Love to be benched and Malik Willis to be the long-term quarterback. And I was like, all right, I'm out of this conversation. Malik Willis is awesome, but we don't want Jordan Love to be benched for Malik Willis right now. I thought just because you got the bumper stickers doesn't mean you know how to talk about football. But anyway, so that's the point. Like, and then so week 8, he comes in, Jordan Love goes out, he gets 37% of the snaps, scores 10.5 points. Do the math, full game, approximately 20 points fantasy. The point is, you can go get Malik Willis for absolutely $0 right now, so far down the list in a startup or wherever. And if it's your FFPC short bench, you can't keep the guy. You're just going to have to pay a whole lot on waivers if Jordan Love gets hurt. But we've already seen it with the X's and O's that goes on with LaFleur and the Packers. Malik Willis is like a free super flex starter if Jordan Love gets hurt.
Right. And, obviously he's not a high draft pick for them, but he was a relatively high draft pick, and the Packers have done, probably a better job of anybody in the league of transferring from one Hall of Famer to the next Hall of Famer. And we're not going to call Jordan Love a Hall of Famer, but he's been decent. He's been pretty good. Can't recall another team in the league having quarterback development done the way that it's been done. And I'm not saying Malik Willis is going to take over anything, and Malik Willis might not even be there in a year. Right. He might go somewhere else, but they may try to keep him around and say, hey, why don't you be our backup for a while, at least one more contract cycle. And let's see if we can't develop him and get him to go somewhere else. But and that's kind of the rationale for me behind all these guys, the Willis, more so Mac Jones and Sam Howell a little bit there, because I do think those guys are probably looking a little bit more for, let me go to these spots and see if I can't get another starting job right away. I don't know if anybody in the league's clamoring for Malik Willis, after his stop to be the starter. We'll see. But we've seen.
I doubt it.
I doubt it.
He's young. Let him sit there with the guys and take reps. And be the backup.
We've seen, the quarterback development in the league is so poor. And that's really a big part of this, right? And Mac Jones was supposed to be the guy that Aaron Rodgers was, taking over for Brett Favre.
Yeah,
and, you know what I mean? It didn't work out. It was all right his rookie season for whatever. He goes to Jacksonville, gets some starting duties. It's fine. It's not awesome. Everyone's out on Mac Jones already because of the silly things that he's done. But he goes over to San Fran, and now you're in a situation where, hey, this is traditionally been a decent spot for quarterback play, and to kind of go reinvent yourself a little bit. And so, same thing with Sam Howell. He's fairly high draft pick, gets a full run and isn't terrible through his at least fantasy points wise, kind of falls off, but a lot of volume tossing. Wasn't ready for that situation by any means. And the team he was on stunk. But now he's gone to Seattle, and now he's over to the Minnesota Vikings, which, we saw Sam Darnold go from San Fran to Minnie, and then get himself a starting job 2 times now. And so that's kind of my thought process with some of these later round guys, is just like, hey, can we go somewhere and get developed a little bit and then come back out the other side as like a viable option, or at least gain ground as far as, you know, the stock that you purchased.
Oh, for sure. As far like Sam Howell, I was telling like Sam Howell got in 2023, that game log is ridiculous. And yes, it was all volume, but like he hit a stride there and things were working for him in Washington. And now I think he got more pass attempts that season than probably almost every single backup in the NFL right now gets for their entire career. Like
Right.
seriously, he got reps. And then now, like you said, he goes over to the Vikings, and you could call the Vikings running back, the quarterback situation with Kevin O'Connell, like you could call that like the Dave Canales running back situation, right? It's going to work out. So, like Sam Howell, he may or may not get a chance to play for the Vikings. I hope JJ's healthy and I hope he's fine, and Sam Howell never gets a chance. But that's the whole point. He's free, and if JJ gets hurt, Sam Howell's going to come in, and I guarantee you he scores wonderful fantasy points for your super flex spot, and he's free. And the Mac Jones thing, you know, Trevor gets hurt. I think the team felt defeated, and there was like Trevor Lawrence, you know, bounce back season that he was even our like MVP long shot, like the craziest thing you could come up with last year. You know, hot takes, you know, Trevor Lawrence for MVP, and that didn't happen, and Trevor goes down. But after the bye week in week 12 last year, Mike Jones for the Jaguars, 24 points. The stinker, he had 5, 22, 16, 21, 14.7. So like that's, again, I'll take that from a free Superflex starter all day. And now Mac Jones is not on the Jaguars, the lowly Jaguars, who really only had Michael Thomas to speak of last year down the stretch when he was scoring those. What'd I say?
Michael Thomas.
Oh, fantastic. So yeah, they had Brian Thomas, and that's about it all the way down the stretch. But all those basically all those fantasy points went to Brian Thomas, right? But now he's in 49ers land. And if something happens to Purdy, dude, Mac Jones is going to be an every week starter. So those 3 quarterbacks need an injury. That's why they're free. They need an injury. That none of those guys are going to earn the starting role this year without an injury in front of them.
And all of them have been passed through the car wash, and everyone has already decided that they stink, and so they don't want.
Which is exactly why that's exactly why they're below Milton. Joe Milton has had no car wash.
Right.
He's had.
Oh, he's still got some luster to him, right?
Exactly. Yeah. None of these guys have any bright outlook because they all came out and didn't do well at certain points on the football field on Sundays or Thursday nights or Monday nights or Christmas Day or all that, you know, didn't all that fun stuff that the NFL throws at you. So yeah, Joe Milton is above all these guys, and yeah, he may produce some fantasy points if Dak gets hurt. Certainly, maybe he's got the wide receivers, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's got the.
But all these other guys, I know these other guys will score fantasy points if the starter in front of them gets hurt.
Right.
That's all.
We saw Week 18 be awesome with Joe Milton and you know, yada yada yada. So I'm all in on drafting Joe Milton as these late round stashes. But these guys,
we just did an auction startup, and I saved money in the beginning. I had the money that I had earmarked for. I sure wasn't getting rid of it until I knew how it was going to play out. Was I needed to make sure I wanted Malik Willis and Mac Jones on my team.
Yeah, but I like the development factor because nobody's good at developing quarterbacks, and maybe Canales will be one of those guys here soon. But there's not that many of them, and so when players go to those kind of situations, I look at that under the microscope, and I usually see, all right, yeah, that guy looks like, sure, I'll pick him up. So
I like it.
All right, I'm gonna rip through some tight ends, and then we'll get out of here for the late rounds. We got this is 16th round on, right? Because there's some other later tight ends that I like, but number one, I'll just go in ADP order. I just got 2 here for you, and then I think you might have one. 1703 Theo Johnson, right? 6'6", 264, uber athletic tight end for the New York Football Giants. Went down with the Liz Frank around Thanksgiving, but before that, Theo was definitely starting to look a lot more comfortable and looking better out on the field. Did he do anything crazy his rookie season? No, not really. Again, the Giants stunk. You know, but the last game we saw 5 for 5, 54 yards. And then when we kind of look at the fantasy scoring, and then we're talking tight end premium as per usual over here. Week 5 on, he had 12 points, 7. So, you know, is what it is. Rookie tight end on a bad team. Then he had 0 targets. So he had 0 points. But after that, 8, 15, 9.7, 8, 12.9. Not the absolute worst on an abysmal offense that was basically Malik Neighbors or Wandell, right?
Right.
And, you know, just a free square, big athletic guy. Bellinger had the weird eye injury and really hasn't been the same since. They did take a flyer on a rookie who, could have a little bit of juice, but for all intents and purposes, Theo Johnson is the starting tight end for the Giants. And there's a lot to be interested in right there. So I like Theo Johnson as a late round flyer. And then really my biggest one right now is Chigakonkwo at 1803. He's been up and down throughout his career. Again, Titans absolutely awful last year, had some injuries. But then from week 12 on in tight end premium, Chig went 14.5, 7.2, 5.3, but then finished off 7.9, 17.9, 23.6, and 13.4 with some mediocre, little bit more competent quarterback play, right? Through the back half of Tennessee, right? And now we bring in Cam Ward, who blew up Elijah Arroyo down there in Miami, just a completely different type of quarterback than what Will Levis was. And now he's a rookie. He's going to make some mistakes, but the accuracy and the magician, keeping your head up on a swivel and downfield and being able to deliver balls. You got a really athletic, still very young Chigakonkwo. I believe he's still only 26 years old. Feels like he's been in the league forever at this point. And I feel like there's going to be a little bit of a rebirth. I'm really bought into Cam Ward succeeding in the NFL. I think he's got everything you need. Just these silly stories that you're catching now where he's talking shit on the field and they're calling the play while he's talking shit, and then he just spits the play back out. Like, I think this is a cool, calm, collected customer who's not fazed by very much and can put the ball just about anywhere it needs to be on the field. And I think that's a completely different change from what we saw from Will Levis and how he had kind of hamstrung this offense and had to have training wheels on it. I think they're going to be able to do so much more in this offense. I think Chig could be a really, really big part of it, because when you look around, it's Calvin Ridley and a bunch of rookies and Tyler Lockett, Yeah. So I think he could be an easy safety blanket for Callahan and Cam Ward to go through this season.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's too free not to pay attention to.
Right.
Yeah, and I need to see, like, 1604 Dallas Goedert seems not real. Like, it just seems not real.
That's like the other guys are like, hey, these are fun projects that the value could go up, and the value can go up on Dallas Goedert, but Dallas Goedert could just straight up start for you,
every week.
If you need
That's
him.
every week. I mean, yeah, there's some ups and downs, but in all if him and the two wide receivers are all healthy, maybe Dallas and Saquon's doing his thing and Jalen Hurts is running around. Yeah, it's a very tight offense, and it's Goddard at 1604. Man, that is like, yeah, he's not young anymore, but he's not like 35, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think that you could get him and put him in your starting lineup. Obviously, if this 16th round, he should be your second, third, fourth tight end taken, right? You shouldn't be drafting him as your first tight end in the 16th round. However, if some reason you YOLO the tight end situation and you didn't get one until the 16th round and you landed Dallas Goedert, that would be an all-time epic. You completely redeemed yourself, Lloyd, moment for a dynasty startup to get Dallas Goedert in the 16th round.
Yeah. I like it. We didn't quite get to the wide receivers, maybe on another date, but we're going to wrap this one up. Appreciate you coming to hang out with us. If you want more, you can always go over to the Patreon, get the $5 holler. At least one extra episode every week. Tons of other stuff behind the old Patreon paywalls for $5. We got ADP, we got mocks, we got rankings, rookie rankings. We got a redraft channel that's up and running. We got stuff going on over there, so I'm sure there'll be redraft stuff and rankings on the Patreon side as well. So make sure you come over and check that out. There's also a free Discord if you want. Other than that, he's Big Co. I'm Casey. We'll see you next time.
Yes, sir.